So you're looking for a payroll provider, you've heard about Gusto and ADP, and you've got some questions. Well, in this video, I'll be covering how these platforms stack up for payroll, definitively whether Gusto or ADP is better based on both price and quality, and what you absolutely must know before you decide to use either. So without further ado, let's hop into it and start off with what is Gusto. Well, in essence, Gusto is a modern HR and payroll platform that serves over 200,000 small businesses across the globe. They specialize in small businesses, which is different from ADP, which largely specializes in big businesses, but they also do have a small business component, which we'll talk about in just a second. Now, Gusto is actually what I personally use to pay myself a salary for 2 different companies that I run, and is what I've been using for at least the past 18 months, if not 2 years. Now, they've also allowed me to save significantly come taxes, but that's a topic for a different video. Now, let's dive into the pros and cons of Gusto. Well, on the pro side of things, one of the most important factors to me is going to be price. I want to make sure I'm not overpaying for anything, and so thankfully, Gusto is actually one of the cheapest options for running payroll as a one-person business. All in all, shakes out to about $45 per month if you are a one-person operation, and you can get a free $100 Visa gift card if you use the link in the description below to sign up. Now, you don't have to use my personal link to sign up, but you do have to use someone's link to sign up in order to get that free $100. And hopefully if this video is valuable enough, you do decide to use that link. Now, in addition to the price component, there's also the quality component that you have to consider. And so what I personally found, again, I spent dozens of hours researching all the different options when I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I put my 2 businesses under? Because when it comes to a payroll provider, like, you're probably not going to change very frequently. It's kind of a pain to change. And so you really want to make sure you make the right decision from the get-go. So I spent dozens and dozens of hours researching all the different options and trying them out as well. So what I found with Gusto is that it's the most user-friendly and kind of streamlined interface that you're going to find, okay? With some of these other platforms, there's a lot of like hoops you have to jump through to run your payroll every single month, but with Gusto, it's kind of just one button, you click it and you're done in honestly a matter of minutes, if not less. And that's really big for me because as a payroll provider, my objective is to be in there as few hours as possible, okay? So if I can spend literally minutes a month in Gusto, that's perfect to me. Like, I don't want to spend any more time than I need to. I want a platform that just handles everything. I do as little as possible. I don't have to know what's going on behind the scenes. I just know that all of my paperwork, all of my taxes, all of that stuff is being taken care of, and I don't have to think about it. Now, the last pro is that they're also optimized for small businesses. So as opposed to ADP, which, like we mentioned, is optimized more for big businesses, Gusto is actually built for the little guy, and so the packages they include are specifically tailored for smaller businesses. But there are some cons to Gusto that you should be aware of. Now, one thing that I found when researching Gusto before I signed up is that there were a lot of complaints, or a decent amount of complaints, about their customer service. Now, I've personally used their customer service probably close to a dozen times, not even, probably about 5 times at this point, for different things. Like, I moved my businesses from one state to another, so I had to email them about that, and there were a few other things come tax time that I wanted to email them about, make sure I was doing the correct way. But all in all, I've talked to them about 5 times, and every time it's been pretty solid, honestly. Like, I haven't had any complaints. The only thing that some people tend to complain about is that they're not open on weekends. So if you do need to get a hold of them on the weekend, you're not going to have any luck with that. But I've never had any questions that were that urgent where I needed a response over the weekend, so that hasn't been a big issue for me. The second con about Gusto is that it's not free, but I mean, none of these payroll provider platforms are going to be free. They all need to make money somehow. Now, the free alternative is to just do it all yourself and do all the paperwork yourself, but that is just way more time and effort than is worth it for me or you or really anyone, so definitely would not recommend going down that route. But one thing that is kind of cool about Gusto is that they only start charging you when you run your first payroll. So you can literally add everything into Gusto, add your entire business, all the information, everything, and it doesn't start charging you until you press that run payroll button. So that's actually what I did for my second business. I had one business in there. It was in there for probably about 6 months or so. I added another one, didn't start running payroll for the second one until another 6 months went by. So there was like a 6 months in there where I had both businesses added, but I was only getting charged for one. So that's kind of a cool thing you can do with Gusto. If you want to add a business but not start running it yet, you can add it, use the link in the description below, get your $100 Visa gift card, and then not run the payroll until you're actually ready to. So that's Gusto, but what about ADP? Now, ADP is a huge company. They do payroll for massive companies. I think when I worked at Dairy Queen, like back in the day, that was my first job. I think they were the ones running payroll for that. So they work with huge companies like Dairy Queen, but they also do have a small business focused payroll product called Run that is for businesses with anywhere from 1 to about 50 employees. So to compare apples to apples, we're going to be focusing on Run as opposed to the bigger ADP as a whole. If you got more than 50 employees, you're going to be looking at ADP as a whole, but less than 50, we're looking at Run. Now, in general, where the big difference is going to be between Run by ADP and Gusto is that Run is more tailored towards like small businesses, whereas Gusto is going to be better fit for kind of like online entrepreneurs or businesses that aren't like a physical business. Now, the reason I say that is because ADP really tailors towards those physical kind of mom and pop shops where you have employees in person, you're doing everything in person. That's because the additional kind of services they provide you are only going to be relevant if you are kind of running a business like that. So it doesn't make a ton of sense for a one-person operation, and it doesn't make a lot of sense unless you need a lot of customizations to your payroll platform. Now, that also ties into their pricing, which is all going to be quote-based. So what that basically means is you're going to have to call them up and say, hey, here's what I'm looking for. Here's all the details about my business. Here's exactly all the features that I need. And then they're going to spit you out a quote that says, okay, because you need this feature, but not that feature, and that feature, but not this feature, it's going to be X number of dollars per month for you. Now, this is different from Gusto, where it's like Gusto has package 1, package 2, package 3. You just pick one of those packages, you're good to go. The package option is going to be a much better solution for most small businesses because you don't need all this additional stuff that you're going to be charged for. It's just like, I want the bare bones package with the bare bones features, and I want to pay as little as possible for it. So that's exactly what I do with both my businesses. We're just on the lowest tier possible, paying as little as possible for this service. Now, where ADP really shines is in two different areas. One is going to be that customer service. Okay, so with ADP, you're getting 24/7 customer service, which is significantly better than Gusto, where you're just getting service during the week. However, just keep in mind, you're going to be paying for that customer service. Okay, so the price point is going to be higher, but one of the benefits you're getting for that is that advanced comprehensive customer service. Secondly, like I mentioned, they've got way more features, functionality, and customizability for these small businesses where you're operating like, say, the local ice cream shop or a pizza parlor or something like that, as opposed to Gusto, which is much more focused on kind of those online entrepreneurs, freelancers, small business owners that are not necessarily doing kind of like the brick and mortar option. So to boil it all down, who wins? Depends on if you are kind of that solo S corp or if you are that small mom and pop business where you have some employees and you have a more complicated situation that you need to be providing payroll for. Again, I spent dozens of hours researching this for my personal situation, and I found that as an online entrepreneur, Gusto is 100% the way to go. It's cheaper, it's got all the features you need, and again, you get a free $100 with that link in the description below. Whereas with ADP, you're paying more, you're getting more. A lot of cases, those features aren't necessarily the features that you need, but if you need that additional customizability and handholding, ADP might be the route for you to go down. Now, regardless of the route you choose to go down, I wish you all the best with your payroll, and don't forget about that free $100 in the description below.